Hello everyone, welcome to English with Iddo. So honestly, in my latest, you know, bits of just being a living human being on the face of the earth, for about the past year or so, I've been pretty into learning languages. You know, first it was Spanish. I just happened to have to take Spanish. First in middle school. Okay, in the United States, we have like three tiers of K through 12 education. We have like elementary, middle, and high school. And after high school, you go to university or college. In the United States, we usually just call it college. But in places like Britain, you'll hear people say uni. It's the same thing, basically. But first it was Spanish, and then now I'm trying to learn Japanese basically from scratch. um, through podcasts and that type of thing. First, just getting comprehensible input. Um, Basically, being able to understand information that's coming in, and the more you build off of that, chances are the what was I going to say? Chances are the more you're able to build up your vocabulary and your understanding of the language. If you're wondering what I'm doing here, on my computer, I'm just playing some random kind of mindless games to just pass the time, give me something to do as I'm recording here. My goodness, this mouse is really loud, isn't it? Like, compared to everything else. Yeah. So, my thought of this whole thing was, cool, these people online that have helped me out with language learning, you know, they just already spoke their native language, and to try to help people learning the language, they would make podcasts. I was like, wait, hold up. It was sort of my aha moment. Um, with this channel is because I've been posting different types of videos, mostly just either me yapping about stuff or me doing like song covers or whatever. I'm a bit of a fan of 21 Pilots, if you couldn't tell. If you couldn't tell from my literally every cover I've done on this channel, before I switched mostly to just podcasts. Essentially every cover, I think literally every cover on my channel, a cover in this sense, how people, musicians write music, in the form of songs. Covers literally just like me singing it. That'd be a cover because I wasn't the original artist. That's not to be mixed up with a parody. A parody is just kind of making fun of either yourself or the song itself by performing it badly. A cover's actually trying to do some justice to the original. 21 Pilots had a film here recently, and by recently I mean like February, I think is when it came out. I went to see it with one of my friends, called More Than We Ever Imagined, about one of their largest ever shows that took place in Mexico City, and through this film that me and a friend of mine who's another 21 Pilots fan, we were able to kind of experience that type of thing vicariously. And that's a word you won't hear much in English, but I just thought I'd use it here anyways. Basically, experiencing something vicariously is like a second-hand That's not going to make any more sense, will it? A secondhand experience. Basically, you weren't able to experience something, but by watching other people experience that same thing, you yourself kind of have a share in that experience. Like you kind of experience something through somebody else. That's what I mean by like a vicariously experiencing that Mexico City concert by 21 Pilots for their Clancy tour. Clancy is one of their albums, basically just a collection of songs. But yeah, basically by watching a bunch of these comprehensible input YouTubers um, who make podcasts and that type of stuff, I was like, yeah, why don't I just do that? Because it takes a lot of the pressure off of me, because instead of making content for people who already speak English, um, who are going to expect my quality to be like super good, I can literally record with my iPhone and just play whatever and just rant about literally whatever I want to talk about. And I mean, as long as I, stay within my bounds, and try to be relatively normal in my speech, I should be fine, right? Like, I'm not going to speak any differently here than I would to any person I see, day to day, who also just happens to speak English. Now, obviously, like, I explain things in detail because some of our mannerisms and our, I guess, parts of speech, our phrases and sayings, our colloquialisms, are just a little weird. But nothing too crazy. So, I mean, I gotta figure out a way to phrase this that's not gonna get me fired. Basically, I work for a very well-known and major pizza establishment as someone working customer service. Essentially, if you walk into the store, I'm probably the person behind the register or at the desk, and I it's like, hey, are you placing an order? Or are you picking up? And usually people just pick up their food. I mean, by picking up, it's like you order and then you get it from the store. That's what I mean by picking up, if it wasn't already obvious what that meant. So, part of my job, and probably the least favorite part of my job, is answering the phones. Answering the phone just sucks. First of all, the phones we have in our store just have the worst audio quality imaginable. Like, I don't know who decided on them, but they're some of the worst phones I think I've ever had to use. But yeah, one time, the first call I ever had to take on my job like 2 weeks ago was somebody complaining about something. It was just complete nonsense. Like, what they were complaining about was literally either didn't happen or was just something we have no control over. So I just deferred it to my manager. To defer in this sense just means to, like, I don't know, kind of let somebody else deal with it. I just let my manager deal with it. But even now, it's still, after having done the whole job thing for a while, like, I'm perfectly fine with, face-to-face stuff, but it's, something about the phone calls, just always, the customers always either have a chip on their shoulder or they're super impatient. Like today, had a customer had a customer call, trying to place an order. Now, I've never placed an order over the phone before, so I thought I was doing everything right. But I was like, okay, all this should be done. You should be good to go. I was like, then afterwards I was like, okay, how do I actually put this payment thing through through on this system here on this kiosk? And so my manager basically tells me that I have to put the guy's credit card number in, manually. Because I was thinking, you could just go into the store and pay for it, when he shows up. But no, I had to put his credit card number in by hand. And I wasn't expecting that. So this guy, thinking everything was all settled, I have to call this guy back. I have to call him. So we go through the call log and the caller ID thing. So this guy answers, and I'm like, hey, like obviously I don't stutter this much in an actual call. It's just for the sake of storytelling. I'm like, hey, so that order you were just placing, like I can't fulfill that until there's like some sort of payment for it, and so for that I'll need like your credit card number. I mean, it sounds like a scam, but the guy literally like just called like 2 minutes beforehand, so he knew I was just the one taking his order. He would recognize my voice and all that type of stuff. And he was like, just forget it. He was obviously just tired of the whole thing. And honestly, so was I. And it was probably a good thing I didn't have to deal with that order. But people on the phones are just always so impatient. And when it comes to working, no one really seems to care that, I'm still very much new to my job. It's a very tough job to be, to do anything in customer service, especially on Fridays. Fridays are usually just our busiest days. I mean, every job where I work is difficult in some regard on a Friday. There's some times where we're so busy that we just can't answer our phones because we have too many people in the store, or that type of thing. And then so sometimes we, it's just a mess. It's just a mess sometimes. There's also somebody, I think last Friday, who was trying to order in advance, I'm not kidding, 300 pizzas. Which I think is nuts. Like, I don't think our store is able to handle, 300 pizzas, but I mean, it is what it is. And so I was like, I was sort of asking around, like, can we even do that? Apparently we might be able to, but I don't think anything came from it. And even if it did, it's not my problem because I wasn't working on Tuesday, which is when this order was supposed to be fulfilled. I don't think they were able to, fulfill that request because it's just too many at that point. Honestly, one of the hardest parts about doing any type of podcast type thing is just not really knowing quite what to say. So I'm just kind of ranting and like the most random stuff ever. I mean, hold on. But I mean, it's alright, I guess. Hopefully somebody gets some, goodness, my voice. Hopefully someone gets something out of this. I mean, even if one person is the only, like, one person who's listening to this, like, it'd still be better than to have somebody who's looking for this type of content and not being able to find it, having them have to keep looking for stuff to watch, especially if they're trying to, like, I know there's already tons of content in English. It's probably a lot better quality than mine, but, you know, hopefully, your boy Iddo, perhaps just my, you know, perhaps just my kind of chill talking with you is enough to at least encourage somebody to stay. Because I just find it obnoxious that, you know, a lot of YouTube nowadays is that they're really interesting ideas that I just don't have the time to watch. Or it's like some video that's begging for my attention. Yeah, if I want some low quality, you know, fast cuts, high dopamine type of thing, I would just scroll on shorts, bro. Like, I wouldn't try to watch YouTube videos, because in my opinion, YouTube videos should actually have some sort of value. You know, shorts are just something you watch to pass the time. You know, you got nothing better to do, so you just rot in bed and watch YouTube shorts or whatever. So I found myself appreciating, at least lately, I found myself having a much greater appreciation for, like, podcasts and stuff, because there's not that, you know, sort of, you know, forcing you to stay and watch or stay and listen. It's just there, you know. I don't know. Let me just kind of think about what to talk about next. Probably one of the things that that's kind of inspiring this channel, you know, its sort of general sense of direction is you know, sort of that sort of let's play feel where you just kind of chill while it's almost like sitting down at a cafe and, you know, meeting up with an old friend, that type of feel and content. And a lot of people, you know, even at work, you know, someone's like, oh, 2016 was like the best year. You know, people glaze 2016 way too much. Like, sure, yeah, 2015, 2016, really cool, you know, time for the internet. You know, you had the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, it was almost the time of fidget spinners, you know, Pokemon Go was still a big thing and all that. But it wasn't that good, you know? Like, there were still serious problems in the world. And in some ways, we had some problems that were worse than what we have now, despite just how, like, weird everything is from, like, a global perspective. When I say global, I'm an American. I don't know anything about global. But I did go to the UK once, which is pretty much like the second most privileged nation. But I gotta say, the culture in the UK, while it's livable in as an American, I was there for New Year's with a band, with my school's band. We were in the New Year's Day parade. And, you know, London, I don't know, I didn't really like London. Probably because I was sleep deprived the whole time and didn't have much time to catch a break because of just how busy our schedule was. But I didn't really like London too much. But literally everything else we saw, aside from London, we saw Windsor and Oxford and whatever was in between the two. I don't, forgive me, I'm an American. I hardly know the names of towns in my own state, which is actually larger than two of your countries combined if you're British. Uh, I mean, if you are British, why are you even watching this? This video isn't made for you. But I mean, like, stay if you want. I don't care. It's only been about 250 years since we had to deal with you guys. Well, a little less than that if you include the War of 1812. I mean, no one really wins a war. But besides that, that's about the only experience I've had outside of the United States. So I can't really speak about anything from a global perspective. And if you're able to keep track of any of these just random juts of thoughts, that's genuinely impressive. I have no idea how I got to this. I just started talking. But something I don't really get. Yeah, because when I'm at work, I basically stand the entire time. We all kind of stand the entire time. Yeah, sometimes we might take like a short 2-minute break and sit down in like that, like an office nook that's in the back of it's towards the back of the store. Besides from that, we're on our feet the whole time. One of the things I don't get is why can't people working like a cash register or anything? How come we have to be standing the whole time? It seems like a really stupid thing to have people stand there for hours and hours and hours. Like it gets exhausting, especially when you have to deal with the customers and stuff. Why can't we have a chair to sit in? Like, oh, then why won't the customer have a chair? Well, the customer doesn't need a chair. The customer is there for like... In fact, the customers do have a chair if they want it. There are benches in our sort of area that's for customers. There are like 2 benches that are nice and soft. Like, how come we as employees, how come we have to stand the whole time? Our feet getting tired, all our blood pooling to our feet. Like, it just doesn't make too much sense, Like, why can't we just sit down when we work? It's not going to make us any less productive. It's probably just tradition. I mean, so much nonsense just keeps occurring. Because it's tradition. Tradition is important, don't get me wrong, but there's a difference between keeping the good parts of tradition for the reasons why they were good and just keeping tradition for the sake of tradition. American work culture is kind of screwed up, and it's been screwed up for hundreds of years. I mean, when slavery ended here, we just kind of figured out ways to... I mean, there's still kind of backroom slavery in a lot of cases because there are a lot of poor families who just can't afford to leave systems that have been set up by wealthier people, especially in the agricultural industry. We have a lot of poor farming families who, like, even if they could leave. I mean, they technically they can leave, but don't have the money and they don't really have anywhere else to go. So they're just kind of stuck for the most part. And you have people like the coal miners in West Virginia, whose families have been doing coal mining work for the past like 6 generations. Like, and a lot of them don't have the money to just, leave or to do something else. And even if they did, like, that's what they do. Like, coal is sort of the thing that ties them, to their ancestors, their forefathers. It's this sort of thing that it's just been running in their family for years and years and years. To just abandon that would be, sort of weird. And then there's assimilating into the culture of whatever new area that they end up moving into. It's just genuinely kind of sad that's still as big of a problem as it is. Cool, I'm not the only... Okay. On this game I'm playing, I was basically the only person on this particular server of this IO game. And then somebody else just like popped up on the leaderboard, for like half a second. I was like, oh cool, there's another player, so I'm not just kind of building fortifications that are never going to be tested. And then the person just like immediately left. I don't know, stuff about this particular game that I am playing. It has this tendency to kind of have server problems where people just disconnect for no reason. Apart from that, it's decent enough. I just needed something to do while I was just yapping to distract my mind from the fact that I'm talking to nobody about stuff that, in the grand scheme of things, no one really cares about. Obviously, this material is going to be more on the advanced side. Holy smokes, my wrist is just really tired. How long have I been doing this for? It's almost been half an hour. I'll try to wrap it up, as it's gonna be midnight in 45 minutes here. And I will have to go to bed eventually. If you're here because you're trying to learn English, that's incredibly based. Keep doing it. You're doing good. Especially if you're able to follow along with what I'm saying. Because this isn't nearly as comprehensible as I kind of thought it would be. My thoughts are just kind of all over the place. And if you're here and you already know English and just feel like watching this, I appreciate it. So yeah, if you found any use from this, be sure to... Oh god, I hate advertising subscribing, but it's one of the few surefire ways that you'll actually see any content from me again. So be sure to subscribe before you go to bed. I'm borrowing that from a Japanese podcast that I'm listening to. It's it's called Oyasumi with Shun. Oyasumi meaning good night in a very informal way, sort of like an everyday way of saying good night. It's be sure to if you found any of this content useful, be sure to subscribe before you go to sleep. That way you can see more of it. So I'm basically going to ask the same thing. You don't have to. In fact, most people don't. I don't really care. If you found any use to this, let me know. People forget that there are actual people behind these channels. And I hope you all have a wonderful night. Good night.